Once again, President Trump is attacking major broadcast networks over what he calls their bad coverage. He fired off a series of late-night Truth Social posts on Sunday. Here we go. ABC and NBC fake news, two of the worst and most biased networks in history, give me 97% bad stories, very specific. If that is the case, they are simply an arm of the Democrat Party and should, according to many, have their licenses revoked by the FCC.
He continued in another post, why is it that ABC and NBC fake news to the absolute worst and most biased networks anywhere in the world aren't paying millions of dollars a year in license fees? They should lose their licenses for their unfair coverage of Republicans and or conservatives, but at a minimum, they should pay up big for having the privilege of using the most valuable airwaves anywhere at any time.
Trump has heightened attacks on mainstream media outlets during his second presidential term, going after other places like CBS, PBS, and NPR. Well, Robbie, I'm not very happy about this, as you can imagine.
Why, you don't care about broadcast standards? They're being too mean to President Trump. Aren't they required to show some fairness?
I'm a big fan of proper journalism rather than state media. And I just think that this is, on one hand, it's Trump's kind of buffoonery on one level, but on the other hand, he has actually obviously taken action against CBS. ABC, I give him a pass for, because ABC made a dumb mistake. The CBS 60 Minutes one, you and I have talked about numerous times. There's no need to go into the whole matter again, other than my belief that he essentially extorted CBS's corporate owner by making a ludicrous legal claim about editing of a 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris. So I think that there are real dangers here. It's not just him blowing off steam. He is exhibiting, as we've talked about on today's show in relation to the Federal Reserve, these tendencies to try to get his hands onto the levers of power in other sectors of society. Yes, the licenses are not granted to NBC or ABC or CBS as a network. They are granted to the local TV station affiliates, but it is still him trying to either get greater control over the news media, or he mentioned pay up big, which seems to be his other favored solution for various problems.
Yeah, this is a problem of having, you have to do licensing in these cases because there's a finite amount of bandwidth. Yeah. So then you have to have some kind of standards, of course, but when you do that, you make it possible for it to be eventually political in some way, even if you try to, structure it in a neutral way. I know many on the right will say that government apparatuses, I don't know if that word works,
yep.
That have been ostensibly neutral in the past are actually ideologically progressive and unfavorable to them. This does feel like fighting the last war, though, even from the Trump perspective of being unhappy about it. Like, let's say ABC and CBS and NBC are as biased against Trump as I'll just concede that he's right. And, it's just relentlessly anti-Trump propaganda. What does it matter? Is it like people are now getting their news and their media from such a wide, I think this is a good thing, from such a wider spectrum of platforms and communications TV, that kind of TV is just dying as a mode of communication or faces healthy competition at the very least. It does not possess monopoly power over your attention overall. So that's probably what I would say to the right, if they're like obsessed. It's a little bit boomer to still be obsessed with, to like actually turn on the TV and go, wow, CBS is mean to Donald Trump. Like, well, who cares? You have Joe Rogan.
Yeah, look, it is certainly a radically different media picture to how it was even 10 or 15 or 20 years ago.
It mattered more 10 or 15 years ago, bias, if there was bias against Republicans then.
Absolutely. But I would dispute the idea that it doesn't really matter, because if you look at ABC, the evening newscast is, I think, excluding sporting events, the most consistently highly rated show on TV. It still gets, I think, around 6 million viewers a night. Now, that's a substantial audience to whom it does matter whether you're presenting real journalism or presidential approved propaganda. Now, Trump would much favor the latter. That seems completely obvious to me. He complains all the time about the slightest criticism. He plucks these figures out of the air, like 97% of it is unfavorable to me. And then he suggests that the solution is either for his guy at the FCC to strip licenses away, or for people to pay to get out of the bind that he and FCC guy Brendan Carr could put them in. That is not an approach or stance that displays any respect at all for journalism or for pluralism. It just suggests that Trump should be able to dictate his own media coverage, which obviously he shouldn't be able to.
I mean, right, they sound like they're trying to reinvent some version of the fairness doctrine, which fell by the wayside, which I was happy to see fall by the wayside. And in fact, I think Brendan Carr was like early on an ideological opponent of, where there was some obligation to give
equal time to different arguments.
Yeah, and to different political parties, but it was just it was very binary in its thinking. This doctrine is one reason I didn't like it. Like, what does that mean to give equal time to the other side? Do arguments or politics just neatly have two sides? We're just buying into a complete duopoly of thought. I mean, my thoughts are more complicated than that. Your thoughts are more complicated than that. It seems to have a very limited way of presenting news and information.
Well, and to that point, which I think is a valid point, I mean, didn't Brendan Carr object prior to the election when Kamala Harris was brought on to Saturday Night Live? Wasn't Carr one of the people who was objecting to that because he argued that because it's a broadcast network, they should basically have invited Trump or a Trump representative on for the same period of time to Saturday Night Live.
But not RFK Jr. or Chase Oliver or Jill Stein. It starts to not make any sense to me.
I mean, I think those are valid points to make. I think the idea that Donald Trump has an interest in reinstituting the fairness doctrine is pretty laughable, with all due respect. Donald Trump does not care about Democrats or liberals getting
he wants
their views.
No, I'm sure he does want he wants fairness doctrine for ABC and CBS and NBC, not for Fox and Newsmax and other places.
He wants
them
views.
Required to
he
put
wants
more
stenographers and other people groveling to him to replace the actual job of journalistic scrutiny. That's what he wants.
I mean, but these people, they invite, Democratic political figures to, participate in panels and everything. It's the age-old problem of having. I mean, they've gotten better about this. CNN's gotten a lot better about this. Having, representing the Republican perspective, the Trump perspective, with an actual Republican and an actual Trump supporter, rather than someone who used to identify as a Republican and now passionately hates Trump. They have gotten, or CNN at least has gotten better about that. I don't watch enough ABC, I guess, to know whether they've gotten better about it.
I think ABC is very good. I'm not going to claim to watch the evening newscast every night, but I think they are a solid journalistic operation. And look, the broader point here is Trump seeking to use the levers that he has at the FCC to punish media organizations for reporting that he doesn't like. That's the bottom line of what's going on here. That's why it's so dangerous. Yes, there are other media sources. Yes, it's a more diverse media world, but you're still talking about the federal government using its power to punish journalism that the president dislikes. Can't be doing that.
Up next, we're looking at the ongoing feud between Elon Musk and Sam Altman. Musk is filing a lawsuit against Apple and OpenAI. We'll be right back after this.